It's Rome. The year is 475 AD. The city that once ruled 5 million square kilometers, 21% of the world's population, is a ghost. Its last emperor is a 15-year-old boy named Romulus Augustulus. He's a puppet. The real power is a Germanic warlord who pays what's left of the military. The Roman currency, the denarius, is 99% base metal, down from 95% pure silver. It's worthless. How does a global superpower, the civilization that built the aqueducts and the Colosseum, end up as a failed state run by a teenager? It didn't happen overnight. It happened in 7 predictable stages. And to understand what's happening now, we have to go back to the beginning. Every empire starts as an underdog. It's characterized by discipline, innovation, and brutal efficiency. Think of the early Roman Republic, a small city-state surrounded by rivals. Or think of the Dutch Republic in the late 1500s. They had almost nothing. They were 7 small provinces fighting for independence from the Spanish Empire. Spain was the superpower, controlling 13% of the world's landmass. But the Dutch had 3 advantages. They invented the joint stock company. They mastered shipbuilding, creating the Vloot, a ship that required 50% fewer crew members. And they were hungry. This allowed them to capture the global spice trade, turning their small rebellion into a commercial juggernaut. They were the scrappy startup that was about to take over the world. But a strong business isn't an empire. Not yet. This is where the rising power defeats its main rival. For the Dutch, it was the Spanish. For the British, it was the French in the 7 Years' War. For the United States, it was emerging from World War II as the only major power with its infrastructure intact. In 1945, the U.S. held 66% of the world's entire gold reserves. It produced 50% of all global manufacturing output. This victory establishes dominance. It allows the new leader to build the systems. They create the banks. They write the trade rules. They build the military bases. This is the peak. The empire is the undisputed leader in military, technology, and finance. Its currency becomes the world's reserve currency. For the Dutch, it was the guilder. For the British, it was the pound sterling. From 1944 at Bretton Woods, it became the US dollar. This is the single greatest advantage an empire can have. It means the rest of the world needs your currency to trade. You can buy goods from other countries in your own money, and you can borrow at much lower interest rates. It's the ultimate economic cheat code. During this stage, life is good. Education levels rise. Incomes grow. The nation builds massive infrastructure projects. It feels like the prosperity will never end. But right at the peak, the seeds of decline are sown. The empire gets comfortable. Its costs start to rise faster than its income. It gets involved in expensive, decades-long wars. Think of Britain in the 19th century, policing 25% of the globe. Or Spain in the 17th century, fighting wars in the Netherlands, Germany, and Italy all at once. The U.S. version? The U.S. maintains over 750 military bases in 80 countries. The cost of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan is estimated at $8 trillion. That's $24,000 for every single person in the United States. At the same time, the empire starts outsourcing its production. Why make things at home when you can pay someone else 1/10 the cost? This makes the empire richer in the short term, but it hollows out its own manufacturing base. It creates a new rising competitor. This new competitor is always built in the empire's image. They are at stage 1. They are disciplined, frugal, and they save their money. They copy the empire's technology. They work harder for less pay. They build their own factories, bridges, and ports. While the empire is spending, the competitor is investing. While the empire is borrowing, the competitor is lending. They start to hold more and more of the empire's debt. This power shift is slow. It takes 30 or 40 years. Most people inside the empire don't even notice it. They're too busy enjoying the golden age. Which brings us to today. This is where the cycle accelerates. The empire is now spending far more than it earns. Its share of global trade is shrinking. Its competitors are now cheaper and in some cases better. The empire has 2 choices. 1. Cut spending and raise taxes. This is politically impossible. It leads to riots and revolution. 2. Print the money. Every single empire in history chooses option 2. The Romans did it by clipping the silver from their coins. The Weimar Republic did it by running the printing presses 24/7. The US does it with quantitative easing. From 2008 to 2022, the Federal Reserve's balance sheet exploded. It grew from $900 billion to $8.9 trillion. That's an 880% increase. This printing has a very specific effect. It drives the value of assets up: stocks, real estate, art. The 10% of people who own 89% of those assets get incredibly wealthy, but the 90% who don't, their cost of living, food, rent, healthcare, skyrockets. Their wages stay flat. This is the breaking point. The wealth gap becomes a wealth chasm. The top 1% in the US now holds 32.3% of the wealth. The bottom 50% holds just 2.5%. This isn't just an economic statistic. It's a social disaster. The society splits in two. The haves and the have-nots stop living in the same country. They don't watch the same news. They don't trust the same institutions. They see each other as the enemy. This is the point where populism rises, on both the left and the right. Each side promises to fix the problem and punish the other. Does that sound familiar? But here's where it gets dangerous. This internal chaos is the signal for stage 6, the fall of the reserve currency. The world is watching. The competitor, who is now a peer, is watching. The countries who hold trillions of the empire's debt are watching. They see the printing presses. They see the political gridlock. And they start to get nervous. They ask a simple question: will we get paid back in money that is actually worth something? They start to diversify. They sell the empire's bonds. They buy gold. They start trading with each other in their own currencies. This is the 1956 Suez Crisis for the British Empire. The US refused to support the pound, and the empire collapsed. This is the 476 AD moment for Rome. The army refused to accept the worthless denarius and declared a barbarian their king. The collapse is never slow. It's a 50-year process that happens in one day. It's a crisis of confidence. When the world dumps the reserve currency, the empire's cheat code is gone. Imagine if the US couldn't print dollars to pay its bills. It would have to immediately balance its budget. This means cutting its military budget by 70%. It means slashing social programs. Interest rates on national debt, mortgages, and credit cards would spike. Unemployment would jump from 4% to 25%. This is the Minsky moment. It's the point where everyone realizes the system is a lie all at once. And this is how an empire truly dies. Which brings us to stage 7. The aftermath. What comes next? History shows us two paths. The British path, a peaceful, managed decline into a respectable middle power. The Roman path, a chaotic fracture, leading to 500 years of darkness. The empire is gone. A new power, the former competitor, takes its place. They are at stage 3. They set the new rules. They create the new banks. And the entire cycle begins again. So, where is the US in this 7-stage cycle? The evidence points to stage 5. The internal division, the record-high debt, the hollowing out of the middle class. The key question is this stage reversible? Can an empire pull itself out of the spiral? Or is the physics of history simply too strong? This brings up the two biggest scenarios for the next 10 years. Scenario A. The US follows the British model, a peaceful handover of power to a new system. Scenario B. The US fights the transition, leading to a hot global conflict. Which scenario do you think is more likely? Drop your prediction, A or B, in the comments. And subscribe because we're going to revisit this prediction in 2030.